So I wanted to show an example of how we might go about modeling a chair such as this one using the new subD tools in Rhino, which is a really nice addition. You can see in Rhino 7 there's a new tab here called subD, and there are also a new toolbar with subD tools on there. So I'm kind of novice at this, but I think I played around with it enough that I can see its kind of promise. So I'm going to try to model this using some of these tools. I've found an elevation and a front elevation of this chair, scaled them to approximately the right size, and positioned them at pretty close to the origin. So this plane you can see is along the y-axis, or it should be. So switch to top view. I believe that's on the y-axis, yes. And this one, I think I want that to be pretty close there. Alright, so first thing, I'm going to tone down the transparency of these images by selecting them, going to Properties, and clicking on the second button, which is the Material. And down here at the bottom I can fade them out a little bit, so something like that. Alright, and I've already placed them on their own layer called Image, and I'm going to lock that. Okay, so the way I'm going to start is creating a box. I found in practice that creating some kind of scaffold is helpful. So I'm going to draw a box, and let's see, I'm just going to arbitrarily do it over here on the side, move it to the origin, so I'm snapping from the midpoint and then typing 0 to kind of place it there. So I've got it centered, and then I'm going to just use the gumball to approximately kind of try to get the overall scale of this chair. So I'm just using the gumball to stretch this. And the reason I'm doing this is that I have something to snap to, and I can also kind of keep track of generally how big I want the chair to be. Alright, so that's placed on the guide layer. This is just regular NURBS geometry. Alright, so now to start with the subD, I'm going to click over here. And subDs are kind of interesting because they have two ways that you can look at them. So I'm going to come over here to the subD menu and primitives, and I'm going to choose box. Alright, so I'm going to click here and click to maybe the midpoint and snapping up here to this corner. Alright, so and now I can turn off the guide layer for a second. So it looks like this, but if I click on or hit the tab key on my keyboard, you can see that there are two representations of this, a sharp polygonal one and a kind of more organic subD version. And that's kind of an interesting way that we can, well, that's the nature of subDs. Alright, so I'm going to just do a little bit of speed modeling here. So I'm holding down Control-Shift on my keyboard, and that lets me select sub-objects, select different faces and elements. So here I've selected this one, and I'm just going to continue and select these faces as well. Hit delete on my keyboard, and so I've kind of emptied out that top part, and I'm going to also select these and hit delete. Okay, so I'm kind of looking at half of the chair. Alright, and I'm clicking tab. And we're just going to model half of it. We're going to use a subD symmetry reflect option in a second so that we can kind of model both sides of it simultaneously. Actually, maybe I should do that now. So select it, subD symmetry reflect, and I'm going to reflect along the y-axis and hit enter. You see that kind of created a mirror version, so hence why we placed everything at the origin so that we can use those axes of symmetry. Okay, so let's do a little bit of modeling here. So from the side, let's switch to wireframe. I can see that the arms are kind of further down, and let's try to start bring that into play. So I'll click tab, clicking Control-Shift to bring that armrest further down, and maybe I'll move this back, just using the gumball to approximate it. And then every now and then, clicking Tab to check to see what the result is. I can stay in this mode as well, just to kind of get a sense. So what's interesting is you can click on different elements. So holding down Control Shift, I can select a face, like so, and I can, alter that geometry. I can also click on an edge, so Control Shift, and here just clicking on an edge to bring that out. And I can also hold down Control Shift and click on a vertex. So there you can see that's a point. Flare things out here. Okay, so that's pretty neat, and what I like is that you can keep the geometry simple and still kind of get pretty close. Alright, so let's continue with this, and I'll bring this down a little bit. And so here we can see that there's, let's see, there's kind of a flare on the arm, or actually let's work on the back. So just go back to Tab for a second. So here I can select these edges, and now on the gumball you see the little dot there. That's an extrude command. So I can extrude edges, and that has ramifications on the curvature as well when you switch modes. So it's kind of a very elegant way, I think, of modeling, which is a very nice addition. So really glad to see this included. Let's just bring a couple more of these, and it takes a little practice, obviously, because it's a new kind of methodology. Alright, that's not bad. Okay, I think that's kind of what I wanted to show. Actually, I'm gonna, right now these two sides are meeting perfectly. Let's see if I can, yeah, I'll leave it at that.